Aisha Abed, the ambassador from Bridge, Pakistan. I welcome all of you to the 8th episode of Bridge Writers in Conversation. Today, we have with us the amazing Dieter Bruhn, who is an international leader, an educator, an entrepreneur, and a cultural ambassador. He's also the president and founder of One World Training, which is a global training and organization based in the United States. He has conducted 6 teaching training workshops in Pakistan and many around the world. His poems were awarded 2nd place in the big regional poetry competition, and he is currently working on his first novel. You will be thrilled to know that he is also a creative music artist and is capable of writing songs on spot. Welcome to Bridge, Leader. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here.
Dieter, you have an abundance of creativity within you. Where does this inspiration come from?
I feel like I've had this creative side of me since I was a child. I started writing poetry when I was very little. I used to draw pictures in my school books, in my notebooks. And that's kind of where this creative side started. And then as I got older, I started to get into poetry. When I was in 8th grade, a couple friends of mine and I used to write a poem to our homeroom teacher. Every morning we wrote what we call the morning poems. So we got into poetry and continued that in high school and started playing guitar right around the time I started college. So kind of went from drawing to writing and then into music. So that's kind of was the evolution.
Very well. I think you're an excellent educationalist, and it is usually known to be a more boring side. So how did this creativity got merged with education? What would you like to say about you being an educationalist, and how do you approach it?
Yeah, great question. I mean, for me, I always believe that education should be engaging and fun and interactive and really bring out our creative side. So my whole philosophy around education is really bringing that creative element to the classroom. And so I've created a lot of courses, trainings, used a lot of creative writing and music in teaching and training. So I really feel like it engages the students more, it gets people involved, it's something they can relate to, and really helps them improve their language, I think, faster when you bring that side into it.
Very well. Dieter, tell me, you have been writing poems since a very young age. Where did that inspiration first came from? What was it like writing the first poetry that you have created?
Wow, what a question. That was a long time ago. It's interesting. I don't remember exactly how I started writing poetry. I think that from what I remember, I've always liked, like Dr. Seuss when I was very young. I really liked Dr. Seuss books, and those are poetry, it rhymes. So I would guess where my inspiration started from, because those books were always fun to read and engaging. And then at some point, I started writing poetry and just kind of continued throughout my life after that.
Amazing. So you're also an international leader. You have been organizing workshops all over the world. And how does all of these things merge? How do you approach being an international leader? How do you go out throughout the countries, and especially different countries, not which are necessarily the first world countries? How do you go there? What is your experience like?
Well, personally, I was introduced to travel and culture at a very young age. My father was actually originally from Germany. So he came to the US, he thought for a year, and then he stayed for 2 years, and he met my mother and just stayed. So, but as a child, we actually traveled, and I also grew up in a household that was bicultural. So kind of this interest in culture, travel, going to other places, learning about other people started when I was very, very young. There's a picture of me in an airplane when I'm just like a baby flying to Germany. So, travel started at a very young age. And one of the things that I love is to go to different countries. I mean, as you mentioned, I've been to Pakistan 6 times training teachers. I've done projects in Thailand, Cambodia, I'm currently in Vietnam. I was in Myanmar, Japan, Korea. I've been to South America, like Brazil, Costa Rica, Argentina, just a lot of in Tunisia and Africa, North Africa. And you talked about going to developing countries. I also did a project a couple of years ago training teachers in Senegal in a village. And it was all dirt roads and very simple life, but it was just a wonderful experience. And one of the things for me is really about, something that Bridge does as well, try to bring the world closer together. And so when I go to different countries, I really try to engage with the culture and be part of the culture, and also share what I can around education, training, creativity, to really help people around the world become better educators or better business people. But I think, again, that creative side always helps. It's like the juice that helps things move forward. It really brings an element into the training that I think it's kind of contagious. I think everybody really has a creative side to them. And sometimes we get so caught up in the rules or how we're supposed to do things. And when we get to be creative, we tap into a different part of ourselves. And I think if you can bring that to whatever you do, whether you're a teacher, whether you're an entrepreneur, other kind of professional, that creative side can be beneficial in all kinds of environments, as well as the cross-cultural piece, which is really trying to learn about and be engaged with people from different cultures. So when I love coming to Pakistan. I would come every year if they would invite me. I really love coming there and engaging with the culture and the people, and I've made a lot of great connections and friends there. So I think it makes life more fulfilling.
Definitely. That's very interesting to hear. I was reading about your interest in music, and you're quite passionate about it. Where did music come from, and how do you just make music on point, on spot?
Yeah, great questions. My father actually was very big. He was a big classical music fan and a big opera fan. So when we were children, he used to take us to the symphony or to different classical music things. So I was introduced to music at a young age. When I was in 4th grade and 5th grade, I took trumpet lessons, playing the trumpet. And my sisters, I have 3 sisters, all of them learned how to play piano. So we had some music lessons as children. And then when I was in high school, one of my sisters was in a harp. She was in a group that was harp. It was called Harp and Vocal at our high school. And she learned how to play the harp, and then she started to play the guitar. And she taught me a little bit of guitar. And that's kind of where it started. Then I bought a guitar. I taught myself how to play guitar. In terms of being able to make up songs on the spot, that just kind of happened one day. I was in some kind of situation, and I was playing songs that I knew. And I just started singing a song about the situation, and it rhymed. It's like poetry. When I make up songs, they actually rhyme as if it's poetry. And so I've made up a lot of songs on the spot, sometimes in a social situation, somebody's birthday. And then where I live in Colorado, a friend of mine organizes some music events where she brings a lot of musicians in. And my role is always to bring someone from the audience that I don't know, oftentimes someone I've never met, talk to them for a few minutes, hear their story, and just make up a song about them. Really, literally right there without thinking about it ahead of time. So it's interesting. I don't know exactly where it comes from, but maybe it's because I love poetry so much, and I love language, and I'm engaged a lot with language. So words that rhyme seem to come to me more naturally, I think, maybe than some people. So, but yeah, I was at an event, and I was talking to someone before the event who I'd never met, and she had a really funny story. And so when I had to get somebody, I said, I'm going to use her because, and she goes, don't use me. So I did use her, and I made up a song about her on the spot, and she was laughing the whole time. It was very engaging. So Yeah, it's something I enjoy doing, and it's just part. I think it's part of the poet in me that just it comes out in writing, but it also comes out in music.
Very well, that's definitely a talent to be proud of. Tell me that you have been also, since we were talking about music, let me just say that you're a great singer as well. I have heard your voice. So would you
Oh,
like
thank you.
our viewers to hear your voice? Would you like to sing something for us?
Would I like to what?
Would you like to sing something for us?
Oh, you know, if you had told me, I would have had my guitar ready. It's in the other room and it's probably out of tune, but I mean, I could grab it, but will it interfere with that? Because I like to sing with the guitar. So for me, when I sing with the guitar is part of the whole experience. Like when I sing karaoke, I don't
Mm-hmm.
sing as well because I don't have my guitar with me. For me, there's a connection between the guitar that resonates with me and comes out in my voice. So if I sing
Uh-huh.
without my guitar, I don't, I feel like I don't sing as well. So I should have prepared that.
All right, all right.
If,
We'll let you go.
if, if you would like me to, I could, but I might need a second to make sure it's tuned. That's the only
Sure, sure. We
challenge.
can have.
Can we take a pause in this
Sure, sure. We
interview?
can. We can definitely do that.
Okay, let's pause. Let me get it, and then
All right,
I'll
all
I'll,
right.
I'll see
All
something.
right.
Hang on. I haven't played it in a while, so it's
Sure, sure.
what's pretty tuned. Let me think of what I was just saying. Let's see. And do you want me to sing a song I know, or do you want me to make one up?
Whatever you like. If you can make something up, that would be great.
Bringing magic Okay, I'll sing a couple lines.
All right.
Should I continue now?
Okay.
Okay. So my voice is not warmed up, but I will try to make something up since we talked about that. I'm just going to go with it and see what happens. So we'll see.
All right.
The bridge writers are like an oyster's little pearl, bringing magic and creativity to the world. There are writers here and writers far and wide, and with us they all try. Let's sing a song about the music now. We can sing about the writers somehow, bringing poetry and rhyme, doing things all the time, writing stories that are yours and mine. Anyway.
Oh, that was amazing. Hats off. It was a treat to my ears. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I wasn't expecting to play, but it's always fun to pick up the guitar and see what comes.
That was excellent. That was amazing. You spoke about Bridge, so let me move to my next question. You know that Bridge is striving to connect writers from all over the world. What do you
Yes.
think about the entire project, and how do you see it?
I think it's an amazing project. I really love your philosophy of trying to provide a platform to really connect writers from all over the world and showcase their work. I think for a lot of creative writers, they don't really know how to get their works out there. And what you're doing, you know, every month coming out with publications and getting people from different parts of the world, I think it's really, really wonderful what you're doing. And I think it's a great opportunity. And I think it also provides a way for young writers as well to find a way to get started as a writer. So congratulations on doing that. I think it's really wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. In your course of life, you have reached multiple dimensions. How did you reach? What were the lessons that you've learned? Would you like to share some of the lessons with our viewers?
Just lessons about life in general.
It could be anything, anything that you would like
Yeah,
to say.
I think one of the big lessons is have an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and don't let your thoughts hold you back from your dreams. Because one of the things I found starting when I was young was if you want to do something, you just do it. You can actually do amazing things if you don't tell yourself that you can't do them. So I would say no matter what your dream is, what your goal is, what you want to accomplish in life, what often holds us back is our own thoughts and our own minds. So I always feel that if you really have something that you want to do, there's always a way to do it. You know, obviously we can't make ourselves disappear and reappear in another place, but we can still go to another place, and we can do many things. And yeah, if we talk about creativity, it's like the life is a canvas, and you're the artist who paints it, and you can decide what you paint because it's who you are. And so that would be probably my biggest lesson is just have an open mind and be positive and follow your dreams. And also really try to learn about people from different parts of the world. Like I said, I've been to many, I think I've been to over 40 countries. And people always tell me, they say, you seem like you're at home here. You seem like I've been in Vietnam for 6 months doing a project. And from the beginning, people said, you don't seem like you just got here. So I always go in with an open mind and always try to connect with people and learn about people and learn about the culture and eat the food. And I think that helps bring the world closer together if we can have that open mind and that passion for meeting people and connecting with people from other cultures and other places. It's just it's a fascinating thing to experience, and I think it makes the world a better place.
All right, that's some great advice. Um, Please tell us something about your struggles, because usually you are an educationalist, and you know that people nowadays, they don't believe in struggles. They believe that wherever somebody is, they have always been there. Tell our viewers something about your struggles and how you started, how you reached where you are.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, because I think you're right. Very often people think, oh, you've never struggled, but I think we all have struggled. And when I started my company, One World Training, I didn't have a lot of help. I decided that I wanted to do it, and I realized I needed a phone number, I needed a business card, I needed a website, I needed a name. And I started, but I made some mistakes at the beginning because I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. So I learned a lot by doing, but there were some struggles at the beginning to get things rolling and really develop the company. So that's one struggle. I think the last year and a half, a lot of us have struggled with COVID, just having to adapt to doing things virtually. I spent a whole year working from home before I came to Vietnam. I was literally working from home, not being able to do a lot of the things that I normally do, not being able to travel. And but I feel like one of the things that has helped me through struggles like that is to try to keep a positive attitude and try to see, this is harder than it was before in some ways, but it's sort of taking the cards that you're dealt. So those were the cards we were all dealt, was COVID, lockdowns, lack of travel, switching to a lot of online education and training. And I love being in the classroom. One of the things I love about what I do is being with people live. And I had to spend a whole year doing online type work, and it was challenging. Even here now, I'm teaching and I'm training and I'm helping create a national English assessment test for the whole country. And my teaching was all supposed to be live, but for the last several months, it's all been, even though I'm here, I'm still teaching online. So that's been a little bit of a struggle. And also coming here and we were locked down recently for 2 months. So Vietnam had a 2-month lockdown. So just being able to try to stay positive and make the most of the situation, I think it helps, because struggles can be opportunities for growth. So even though you may struggle with anything, we all struggle, it's always an opportunity to learn and to grow and to become better in some ways. So even if something seems really hard or challenging or difficult, or it seems impossible, we can learn from those experiences.
Amazing. You were talking about traveling to different places and how you just make yourself at home. But I'm sure that you must have faced some kind of judgment, as everybody do. And do you think that it definitely affects a lot of people, some more than the others? How do you cope up with judgment, and how do you find yourself to be as comfortable with all those eyes looking at you and thinking that you're just an alien? Because I know exactly how that feels.
Yeah, I mean, I've done so much travel and overseas work that it's become kind of normal. I remember, actually, I did a project in Vietnam many, many, many years ago, and some people, I'm very tall, and people here tend to be shorter, and so I definitely stand out, but it doesn't bother me when people look at me, because I also am fascinated by going to other countries and seeing the people. And so I understand that people sometimes will look at me and find me strange or different. I've done a lot of cross-cultural training. And one of the big things about cross-cultural training is to get away from judgment, because cultures are different. We're all humans, we're all people. But different cultures have some differences of what the culture tends to value. So like Americans are very time conscious. We tend to be on time. We tend to be very structured. And a lot of the rest of the world is not so time focused. And so things sometimes start later, or they seem more, for an American, they seem more chaotic. And it's easy to judge that and say, oh my gosh, people here are late, they're unorganized. That would be the judgment. But the reality is that cultures that tend to place a lower value on punctuality tend to place a very high value on human relationships. And so there's this side of, that the human relationship is more important than the punctuality. And there's a really beautiful side to that. So I've seen Americans overseas who they're like, I always show up on time and everyone's always late. And I said, well, why don't you just show up late too? So I think part of it is recognizing that differences are not good or bad or right or wrong. They're just different. And so if I'm in a culture where time is more elastic, or people speak more indirectly than they do back home, or it's less individualistic and more about the community and the group, I know that it's not better or worse or good or bad. It's just different, and I embrace it, and I go with the local flow, whatever that is. So when things start late, I don't get upset, or if people don't speak to me directly, even though I want them to, I recognize maybe in certain cultures that it's being so direct can be taken as impolite. So for me, a big part is really just adaptation and acceptance, and also interest. It's wonderful to put yourself into the shoes of people in another culture and try to experience the culture through their eyes and through their world. and recognize that, different isn't better or worse. It's just different, and it's beautiful as well. So I really enjoy that piece of it, and I think that's what helps me when I go to different countries. Is I feel at home in different situations, and I stay away from judgment, but I do know that a lot of people have trouble. They judge, and if you can that's another good piece of advice, is avoid judgment and try to see things differently. Try to see it through the eyes of the other culture. I think that might be some other advice I might give people.
All right, very well. You are going to publish your first novel. You're working on your first novel and your anthology of poems. So please tell us about these two upcoming projects and when we'll be able to see them.
That's a good question. I started writing my novel quite a while ago, and then I got out of. I felt like the novel was writing itself. I don't know if maybe it's kind of the way when I make up a song. When I started writing the novel, I didn't think, I just let it flow. And when I started to think about the story and where do I want it to go now, I got stuck. So, but it's kind of it's an interesting story. It has to do with kind of awakening, where somebody wakes up in the sense of not from a sleep, but awareness. And it's kind of these two characters. There's a man who's very focused on his job and success and always trying to get ahead in life. So he's not very connected, maybe spiritually might be a way to put it. But when he sleeps, he has these beautiful, incredible dreams. And the woman wakes up and she's like ultra aware of every little thing around her. But when she sleeps, it's dark and nightmarish. So you have these two characters, one who's awake in the daytime and one who's awake when he sleeps. And they're going to come together. I'm getting them to come together, and they're going to probably fall in love. But they sort of, each one has what the other one is missing in a way. And then the poetry, my youngest sister is also a writer. She is currently in the process of working with an editor and getting her book finished. And she and I meet once a week, and we do creative writing online, so over Zoom. And so I've been writing a lot of poetry with her and other poetry. So I'd kind of like to take my poetry and put it in an organized way and actually into a book. I have some other ideas for poetry books, like I want to write a book of poetry written by animals. So each poem is written as if it's written by the animal and not by a person writing about the animal. So that's another idea I have. But yeah, I've written a lot of poetry over the years, and I haven't done a lot. I've written some children's poetry. So I feel like my sister actually wasn't, she's like, you need to put this into a book. Like, you've done all this and we're doing it now. So my plan is to get it into a nice format and think about how to get that published, and to also work and finish the novel, because I need to, like I said, I kind of go through phases with it. And one of the magical things I found with my sister is sometimes one of us is tired. We're opposite. So, 10 o'clock at night here is 10 o'clock in the morning, her time. So one of us is always in the morning and one of us is always at night writing. And sometimes one of us is tired, or the other day she was very stressed and she spilled her coffee and she didn't have a lot of time, but we still wrote, and she wrote a beautiful piece in a short amount of time, in a place where, you might say, you might think, oh, maybe we should wait and write tomorrow instead or next week. But we found that when we feel like we're too tired or stressed to write, we write some of our best stuff when we feel like maybe it's not the best time. And we've learned that. So I think with writing, that's a big thing, is setting the time aside and doing it, and making it a priority is really helpful, because she and I make it a priority, and we do it. And it's kind of like with music. We often pick a theme and start writing. So we don't plan ahead of time. We never plan. We just, we might look outside and say, oh, the moon is out. So tonight our theme is moonlight, and we'll write. Or, one day the sun was shining into her window and you could see the rays. So we said, how about rays of hope? And so we literally come up with a theme. And it's very much like the music where we just write without planning ahead of time. So it's pretty fascinating to go through the process.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Is there something you would like to say in the end to our viewers, emerging poets, emerging writers?
I would just say, writing is a beautiful art, and we all have this creative side in us, as I mentioned, and set some time aside to write. And sometimes I think it would be valuable sometimes to just look around and see something and write about something that you see without overly planning, because we have the left brain and the right brain, and one side is more logical and one side is more creative. And when you put yourself in a situation of writing where you're not really planning it so much. I even mentioned with the novel I'm working on, when I started it, it wrote itself. I just flowed. And then I started to think, and I got into my left brain and started to think, well, where's the story going? What am I going to do? How are these two going to meet? And at that point, it became harder for me to write. So I think an important thing is really let your creative side come out, and do exercises sometimes, like my sister and I do, where we don't plan ahead of time. We literally, it's literally random. We'll say, oh, there's a plant here, so okay, let's write about plants, and we start writing. It's that simple, but you would be amazed at what can come out without thinking about it, just on the spot. It helps your creative side evolve. It's a way of practicing creativity and helping that creative side flow more naturally. So I would recommend that, and just keep writing. It's a beautiful, writing is beautiful, and it's like a work of art. Everything you write is a work of art that you create. And if you can share that with other people, then it's beautiful. People can really benefit a lot from that.
That's some lovely advice. Thank you so much, Zader, for such an informative and fascinating interview. And I hope that we'll be seeing you, the Bridge will be seeing you in multiple discussion portals of the Bridge.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to be part of anything you'd like me to help out with. So.
All right, thank you so much. And with that, I would also like to remind my viewers that Bridge is an absolute platform with an abundance of creative writing challenges. We have recently introduced our collaborative portal, so please visit www.bridgethenations.com and stay tuned for more videos and more interesting content from the Bridge. Thank you so much. Goodbye.